Class of 2011. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this year's Songfest. I'm Jay Ariola, class of 82. I'm very proud to be here and to be asked by the class of 2011 sponsoring committee to be here. This year's Songfest has a distinguished number of guests we'd like to welcome. Of course, we'd like to recognize, beginning with the Archbishop, His Excellency Anthony Apparon. I don't think he's able to be here with us, but let's have a round of applause for His Excellency. One of our judges this evening, I will have a further introduction later. Of course, our Governor, Felix P. Camacho, class of 1976. Lieutenant Governor Mike Cruz, welcome to the House. Former Chief Justice Phil Carbolito, welcome, Your Honor. Senator Frank Uggan, welcome, Senator. Senator Eddie Baza Calvo, Senator Jim Espaldon, Senator Frank Bloss, all alumni of FD, welcome, Senators. Most importantly, welcome to our parents, our alumni, our sponsors, our benefactors, everybody who's bought tables in support of this venture tonight. It's certainly a pleasure, again, to have you here to enjoy, through the years, this year's theme for FDMS Songfest. I was asked to be here because they realized that this Songfest at FD started in 1980 with a class of 82 when we were sophomores, and we decided, why did just Academy and Notre Dame get to take school time off to have a show when we know the boys here are just as talented and certainly just as creative in putting on a wonderful form of entertainment for their parents and for their teachers and for everybody who supports them. And back then, we were lucky enough to have our judge at the time, Miss World, Kim Santos, grace our presence with that. It certainly is a lot different than it is today with this big stage and the sound system. We did it in the courtyard outdoors. And the only instrument was the old wooden piano that could barely get rolled out of the Japanese classroom. So FD, you're very fortunate, 30 years later, to have this facility, this continued support, and this continued program to keep the FD spirit alive. I'd like to take the time now to introduce our distinguished panel of judges. Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to be voting on a number of items tonight, and I'll explain later how the voting process will take place. Of course, our head judge tonight is Governor Felix Camacho, an avid musician himself. Welcome, Governor, once again. Representing the 60s, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome alumni from the class of 1965, Peter Roy Martinez. Representing the 80s, welcome to my classmate, an avid musician, member of the band Rumblefish, produced a number of CDs. Everybody knows him, and he's co-owner of American Music Company in Tamuting. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Sablon, class of 82. Another good friend of mine, this time from the 90s. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the co-owner of Synergy Studio. He's Guam's first Guamazing Race winner. He is in the class of 92. His name is Roland De La Cruz. Welcome, Roland. And last but certainly not least, from the year 2000 on, we have Jimmy Yee, an owner and a wholesaler himself. Welcome to Jimmy Yee, one of our great supporters, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're ready to go on with the show. And our first performance. Sure. That's nice. Lexus Inarahan 4703, your lights are on. Inarahan 40703, you ain't gonna be getting home to Inarahan tonight if that thing don't start. But I'm sure Lexus will send us a free pickup. Ladies and gentlemen, our first performance, I hope they're ready for you. It's the freshman class of 2012.